In the past few days, there was a discussion on Reddit where different people tried to forecast the player population in 2019 and 2020 and further on. In this video, we're gonna find out if the game is really dying. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I'm Fable1 and today we're going to talk a bit more about Planetside 2 and a never-ending discussion. A never-ending one. Already since the start of the game in 2012, people were stating that the game was dying at a quick rate, no bright future, and right now, 2019, almost 7 years later, it's time to conclude what happened and also to look forward what is going to happen in the coming future. First of all, I have to state that I have a background in statistics because I'm a student in big data. So I'm actually pretty well aware what I'm doing with statistics and how easily they can be manipulated to show the figures you want to see. Also, to define what is really a dead game or when Planetside 2 would be dead, I have to set some boundaries. And I think in this case, Planetside always benefit from the large scale. Always was special because it had a large amount of players. When there are no big fights anymore, when the servers are not populated anymore, then we can really talk about that game. But I'll explain in further detail in the last part of the video. But let's start with a figure from Bazino. The main picture shows some linear extrapolation that the amount of peak players will go down to only 1,000 in May 2019. The fun part is that the average amount of players will be higher than the peak amount of players if they look at the extrapolation. Nevertheless, in this picture Mr. Bazino only uses 2 data points, January and February 2019, if I'm correct. Since there was a big decline percentage wise and also in absolute numbers when you compare January to February, yes, it will give you numbers like this. The game will die in approximately 2 months. I do think Mr. Bazino realized he was wrong, so he added another picture, also adding the data points of March. Again, compared to what we had in January, the amount of players in March was a lot lower than in January. So in this case, the peak amount of players would go to only 1,000 in August. Again, the fun part is that the average amount of players will be more than the peak amount of players. That's a big red flag for me, but at least it didn't stop Bazino from posting it. I'm not here to only talk down about Bazino because I think he does try to add something to the discussion. The only thing is he's doing it wrong right now, and luckily more people realize that. So somebody else called S3X2 did also an actual attempt at forecasting the player population. He uses the Planetside 2 Visu stats for the server statistics and then goes on and makes a proper estimation. In this picture he even uses an upper and a lower limit, which describes the maximum and the minimum estimation for the population. The lower limit is very true to the picture Bazino showed. However, he also adds an average amount. That's the blue line. I do think that the last figure could be a very good estimation. However, I do have to give some credit to Bazino. He also made a picture showing off like the most important events in Planetside 2. He shows, for example, that when the construction system was released, there was a big spike in maximum of players. Also with some more smaller things, you see small peaks, but still there is this downtrend. And yes, I do think that every game after 6 years after release has sort of more or less a downtrend. Since 2012, a lot of competitors have entered the market in gaming. Planetside 2 is still very special, so that's how it retains more players. But at least it's clear that the game isn't as popular as it was back in the days. Having said that, statistics don't really always paint the correct picture. Like I've mentioned in other videos, 2019 will be a crucial year for the future of Planetside. There are so many changes coming in 2019, ranging from a big upgrade in performance thanks to DirectX 11, a new continent, a full faction, and I think even most important, Planetside Arena. Yes, you have to expect a huge jump in peak players and average players in March when DirectX 11 and NSUP is going to launch, and again expect the same thing when Usher is going to live. But the big renewal of attention for the Planetside franchise when Arena will launch, that can be a big boost. Thanks to DirectX 11 and thanks to some other changes maybe, like the reversal of Combined Arms initiative, it might also mean that the retention of players is a lot better. This might not be a very honest comparison, but when Apex Legends launched, the amount of peak players and amount of average players really jumped up so much For example, in February, on average on the PC platform, around 800 to 1500 players were playing Titanfall 2 multiplayer. On the PlayStation 4 was around 2k players, and on the Xbox, finally, the main platform, 2 to 3k players. What happened after the launch of Apex? Also, like Planetside Arena, not a true successor, but something still very similar to Apex or Titanfall. The amount of players on the PC went up to almost 4,000. On the PS4, it went up to almost 5,000. And on the Xbox, a crazy number of 10,000 new pilots. Going from 3k players to 10k players is a big leap. But the only thing, Apex Legends of course is a big success. Very, very big success. And especially for a franchise like Titanfall, which never really took off. This was very necessary to keep the multiplayer alive and well. I'm not saying that Planetside Arena will be the same success as Apex Legends will ever be, but I do think Planetside Arena will at least be the flavor of the month. It will be something new, something daring, and yes, people are going to discover the game. Of course, there are some ifs. If Daybreak Games get some big streamers to stream the game, or if at least Daybreak Games get some kind of marketing. But my hopes at least are that some more people are going to discover the game. I was talking about an upward trend. I don't think an upward trend is really possible. Only maybe if the new players attract more new players to Planetside 2. But I do think that's a very, very unlikely scenario. Finally, I just want to take a look at a very safe estimation. Let's assume that the numbers by S3, X2 are kind of correct. That will mean at least 1500 players until 2021. That's more than enough to keep at least a few servers running. Servers like Bricks already have such a low population, and I do expect at least at some time that you will be able to transfer your character to someone else. However, the devs are still stating they first want to take a look at the changes and if they may bring new players to the Brick servers too, just bring some more Australian players in general. But if you look at these estimations, Bricks will have eventually shut down. You will be able to maybe switch to Soltech or another server. Then we still have two Europe servers, Cobalt and Miller, and both have quite stable population, but also those two servers can eventually merge if really necessary. Finally, we also got Emerald and Connery on the NA servers, and also those could maybe in the end be merged. Keep in mind though that there's an East Coast server and a West Coast server, so there will be some more ping problems. However, it is still a possibility. Do keep in mind though, if you really start to merge servers, you might lose some more players thanks to that. At least there's one good thing about the merging servers, that is that you keep at least the gameplay alive for a longer time. Because when at a certain time, the amount of players is so low that you can't have, for example, 96 against 96 fights anymore in Planetside 2. It isn't Planetside 2 anymore, it is a glorified version of Battlefield 2142. I think a server needs at least 800 players at prime time to have that fun Planetside experience. So is Planetside 2 dying? Yes, it is kinda dying, but every living organism dies in some way, but it's certainly not that yet. There are still some tricks Planetside 2 developers can pull to at least keep the game up and running with a fun amount of players for a long time. So I'm carefully positive about the future. There is no direct reason to think that Planetside 2 is that, really. But that's a bit of my own personal opinion, of course. If you think different about this, please let us know in the comment section down below. But that's me, that's Fave1, and we'll see you soon with some more content.